Hello, everyone, and welcome to Project Purpose Podcast, where we talk all things money, mindset, and leveling up your game. I am your host, Sheryll, and today my special guest went from the inner city projects of Chicago to making millions in his company. His story is inspiring. Let's get into it. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with an extraordinary guest who has defied the odds from his humble beginnings into an inspiring success story. From the inner city projects of Chicago to earning over $1 million in his company, please welcome to the show, Mr. Sheryll Muhammad.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Muhammad. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. You're so welcome. Pleasure.
You're actually our first guest, so
Yeah.
welcome.
Oh, well, the first of many, right?
First of
so
many.
it's an honor being here, and I know you're putting a lot of work into this incredible podcast. It's going to help a lot of people. I'm just glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you, and we're going to get right into the questions that I have here for you. I know you have an amazing story to share with us, and even though this podcast is predominantly for women, I believe your story is such a universal one that it will impact both male and female. So we're glad to have you, and we're going to go ahead and dive right into your story. So share with us just a brief background.
Again, Sheryll Muhammad. Actually, I've been in this industry that I'm in, the business that you're talking about, a home-based business, for over 24 years. It's a company called Legal Shield, a company that I was introduced to while I was working back in Gary, Indiana, right? And as a former Deputy Chief Probation Officer. And introduced to the company, and just made a lot of sense, and was able to join that company and hit the top position, and was able to leave my former job as a deputy chief after 11 months. Helped a lot of people while helping myself. So
Awesome.
that was kind of my journey into the home-based business and the entrepreneurship side.
Awesome. So we first going to talk a little bit about your background and personal journey. And I know, because I'm with you, that at one point you were in the projects of Chicago.
Sure.
So what were some of your biggest challenges that you faced in that situation, and how did it shape your mindset today?
Well, some of the challenges, when you say projects, right, and I know it was in the early 70s, south side of Chicago. There were some difficult times, but I'll be honest with you, there were a lot of fun times, a lot of family times. Unlike, what's being portrayed, or some of the truth that have been out there as far as, gang violence and things of that nature. But I guess some of the biggest, obstacles or some of the, tough situations would be when the elevator wasn't working at times. When my mom would come, from work, and there were times we would have to carry groceries to the sixth floor, right? Because in the project, as you know, you were stacked on top of each other. Some of the times they would go from first floor all the way up to the 16th or the 30th floor. And if the elevators were not working, that simply means that you would have to carry those groceries, up. And so those are some of the challenges, of course, sometimes the weather and the heat, and being in the projects, incinerators, you see the smoke because, of course, your garbage, you would dump garbage in an incinerator. And then you would wait until it would get lit, and that's how it would work. And but those were, again, some of the challenges that we would have, living in the projects. And of course, the coming roaches at times, and other critters, running around. But we pulled through, we pushed through.
Now, how do you believe, that humble beginning set you up for success?
That's a great question. Actually, you talk about building resilience, right? Toughness. I believe I kind of carry that sense of, not willing to give up because of where we come from. And then sometimes not having a lot of food in the place. My mom and my stepdad did a great job, but of course we were a blended family. So having that mindset of, even as a youngster, right, had a lot of great friends, seeing things such as guns, drugs, violence. You better learn how to fight We called it slap boxing back then. So I had to learn at an early age that in order to really just adjust and be able to live in those environments, you got to learn how to be tough. And so it brought about a resilience and a toughness in me that helped me even through my journey of being an entrepreneur.
Awesome, awesome. So we know that you transitioned from there, that didn't last long. You, of course, went on to college and then got a career. Tell us a little bit about that career.
Yeah, it was interesting. Actually, because of my father, my stepdad, or what have you, and my mom and dad had gotten divorced. So really, the journey started in Arkansas, but at a very young age. Of course, we moved to Chicago, and we stayed there for a few years. And actually, my dad, stepdad, and my mom got married, and we were moving to Gary, Indiana. Those don't know, it's really close to Chicago and GI. Shout out to GI. Right, Gary, but I was really kind of dumbfounded and hurt that we were moving from Chicago into a nice home, because we just used to being in that environment, playing softball. So many kids, so many families that are, not knowing that wasn't a great, as you know now. But still, we went to Gary and moved to Gary in the late 70s and went to school and eventually graduated and high school back and forth with my dad and went to college. As a matter of fact, 1984, when I graduated from Central High School, I was a basketball player. I love sports, right? And I was able to go to Mississippi Valley State University. And
awesome.
So that's where I started my college journey.
Awesome. And we know that you pledged. Which...
Of course. Kappa Alpha Psi, yeah.
Kappa Alpha Psi.
Yes.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. And how did that college, education, predominantly black school, how did that help shape you into transitioning into your career and becoming the youngest Deputy Chief PO in that career?
Well, going to an HBCU for me was just incredible. I'm just so blessed and thankful that I had a chance to go there, because not only do you get a chance to meet so many incredible individuals, from professors to, of course, your classmates or your college mates, but it just gave me that idea about who I am, the knowledge of self.
Sense of purpose.
So not only a sense of purpose, but also it's a sense of belonging. And unlike some of the, nothing against all the other major colleges that are out there, but you find that those professors really care for you. If you were not in class, they would check you, right? In some instances, they would go to your dorm and call you out, right? Hey, your mom and dad didn't pay or didn't put up all, sending you money for you to be sleeping in. No. So you had that family atmosphere, because the classes were a lot smaller, but we learned so much. Sometimes we wouldn't even, if it would be a certain topic, we would go off of topics, concerning whether it be our history, right? Black culture, and things of that nature. And so I was just so blessed to be a part of Mississippi Valley State and my alma mater. Love it, and I love the school, and definitely it was great memories.
Yes, sir. And how did that help to transition you into becoming the youngest?
I think part of, like I said, from Gary, Indiana, Chicago, when I came out looking, for work. But being in school and then around my father, my biological father, my stepfather, and of course having, as I mentioned before, right, those access to incredible, individuals, people like Malcolm X, right, some of my mentors that I looked up to, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Mr. Farrakhan, and from on and on and on. It was like that mindset of doing for self. So even though I had a college degree, I started surrounding myself with individuals like, I want to work, but I also want to, work for myself and serve others. And that was just always real. I always wanted to work in the communities, always, because growing up in the project, seeing so much, wanted to work with youth, right? Especially, minority, whether it be Hispanic, African American or what have you, because those were the ones that have been, I think, at that time, vilified and chastised or what have you as not being capable, which we know that's not true. But and so I found myself going into probation and also to juvenile detention. I wanted to be an attorney. That didn't work out. Family, please don't do this. Don't go and take an LSAT test and party all night with the Kappas, right? I did that and did miserably, but ended up, like I said, going a different route. Started out in detention, which was really interesting, working with kids in the juvenile system, Hoosiers, Boys Town, and then worked my way up to supervisor, from supervisor to probation officer, from probation officer to the first African American to hold that position as a Deputy Chief Probation Officer, because it just, a lot of men, I don't know, for some reason, a lot of men didn't want to, it was women running it. Yeah, the judges, the chief was a woman, and most of the supervisors were women. But for some reason, the brothers, and I'm just not talking about black brothers, white brothers too, they didn't. I was just one of the ones that stepped up, wanted to take that challenge. So
awesome. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
So that's your background, pretty inspiring. So now we're going to transition into money and financial freedom.
Yes.
So what advice would you give to people with similar background like yours, who are thinking of achieving financial, freedom, but might feel stuck, so to speak? You obviously went to college, then just decided that your past wasn't going to define you, and you move out into the career field. What advice would you give to young people who are trying to now transition from high school really into whether they need to go to college or just go straight into the workforce?
I guess one of the advice I always, and still to this day, I'm still growing, right, and giving advice to myself is not to be afraid to take challenges, right, and to do things differently than the norm. And I've kind of always been that type of person to look and seek out, but I think most of the time that really things that stop us from being successful or going to higher heights is the fear, right? Fear of the unknown and things of that nature. But that would be one, and plus surrounding yourself, as I mentioned, with good mentors or a good inner circle of people, right? And if you see people that have success, if you see individuals that, and that was for me, right? Whether reading good books or watching individuals, whether they've been on television or what have you, that was something that I wanted, and I seek out that information. I study and search, and so I think that helped me as I was going through my period of growth and still growing, to find independence, to find entrepreneurship, but also to continue to serve. So
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So now you transition into leaving a career that was so safe, so sure,
definitely.
so peaceful, right? So free, and decided to step out into the world of entrepreneurship. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Safe is, that's an understatement, because it's mentioned. I know I still have friends, and hey, shout out to those individuals. Not an easy job when you're dealing with parents and friends and trying to do your job or what have you, especially when you have the politics involved with it. But it's not just that job. I was also hired by the Drug Enforcement Agency as a DEA, and that was a huge, for me, turn down. And even back then, you would question yourself, man, right? Because you listen to your friends and individuals that you even helped get into the drug enforcement, the DEA, and they're doing well. But when we sit down with those individuals, what they want to talk about is what I'm doing in my business and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. That's the truth. And so I feel like, even with that, because I give them the honor and most respect, right? Because I would have gone into that route of the federal and trying to stop drugs from coming in. And so, but by me turning that down too, and then seeing where I am today, because being able to leave that job, right, as probation, not join the DEA, start my journey with Legal Shield and do other things, and then meet my incredible wife. See, that never would have happened if I would have took that other journey, right? And so I'm so thankful, and I still believe like I'm just getting started, because I know we still have a lot of work. I still have a lot of growth, made a lot of mistakes, but the cool thing about life, and if you're willing to take care of yourself while you're taking care of your mind and connect with beautiful people that are in your life to help you grow, there's nothing that you can't accomplish, and I believe that.
Yes, I totally agree with you. So amazing. This is awesome, guys. This is so good. And you actually segment into the topic I wanted to talk about, which is personal development and mindset.
Sure.
Because you literally just mentioned that. So, how do you stay motivated and resilient in the face of challenges? And I know that regardless of the career that we're in, there's always challenges. So how do you stay motivated?
Of course, faith. I think part of it is your faith. So whether and I know there are some individuals that really lean on their faith when it comes to religion. There are some that are not as religious, right? But they just lean on the positivity of mindset and meditation and things of that nature, because we've all gone through, I've gone through tough, I don't go into deep because I don't think it's just, especially at this platform, there'll be another time for another movie or something, right? I went through a tough time with my first marriage. And but that's in the past, right? It was devastating, whereby I could have really just did some things, not only not too much to myself, but to others. But I was able to get through that. You know why? Because first of all, my faith, but then I thought about others that would come behind me. If I do something really silly and stupid and what have you, how's that going to impact?
Justifiable.
Even though it could be,
doesn't mean that it's right.
That's not, no. And how's that going to impact me? How's my family, my mom at the time before she passed? And I've always had respect, and she, as the oldest son, biological son, even though I had older brothers, but I felt that there was a sense of as far as what I had to do, duty and responsibility just to my mom at the time. So I was like, no, okay, trials happen to all of us, but I once was told that trials purify as well. So I was going through my purification period.
Okay, good stuff. So is there anyone, like, who or what has been the biggest influence on your personal journey?
It's so many. I mean, but I guess the biggest would be as far as my personal journey, right, and growth. I had some incredible mentors, right, as I mentioned, as you know, the Honorable Sheryll Muhammad, Minister Louis Farrakhan, of course, as a growth. My dad, because it's funny, if I were to write a book, it would be my three fathers. So I had my biological father, Willie Slade. Everybody loved him, right, and he come from a background, and he was bold about it. He liked to run and do gambling houses and things of that nature. And he was such a charismatic individual. He had a lot of grit and grind, right? And that was Mr. Willie Slater. But then my stepdad is Roosevelt Clark. I learned from his endurance and his resilience to get out and work, put together and bring a dual family, even with all his mistakes. We never had lights cut off. We never went really without food back in Gary, Indiana. And I remember making a lot of money in Legal Shield when I was single before I met you, right? I had money in the bank under the mattress, still got my lights cut off. I mean, that was just neglect on my part, but we never had to go through that. And so his work ethic, and I learned from all those individuals, right? And I continue to have mentors that are in my life. And so, but those, I would say men, and then of course, from, extraordinary Black women that have been apart, from my grandmother to my mom to Harriet Tubman on down, and so many others. So I have, a plethora of people I can go to when I'm going through, my downs. And I think we all need to do that, your ups and downs or your struggles.
Awesome. So good. You got your lights cut off. Did you hear that, guys?
That's funny. Of course I did.
He went from the projects to Macon. We didn't talk about this. You have earned over $1 million in income in your
just in
company.
And other things, but close to 2 now. It's right
close
there.
to 2.
Yeah.
At what point was the light cut off? When you were at the $1 million?
When I was probably at 8,000, 9,000 a month.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Good stuff.
Yep.
Good stuff. So now let's segment into social impact and you working with the inner city kids. I know that that's something that's dear to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
What made you get into it?
Like I said, I always had a passion. I guess me growing up and seeing things, and one of my best friends, this happened while being in Chicago. We played basketball together, and I'm talking about 6th and 7th grade, right? And I remember him, I never forget his name, was Michael. Got into, a situation where you're in the projects, guns are available, and I remember him having it. And 3 weeks later, after I was with him, like in a hallway, right, in Dearborn Homes, a couple of weeks later, he was found dead, right, shot. And because of that association and the gangs, of course, have been around a long time, whether it be the, Gangster Disciples, L. Rookins, and even from the social elites back then, like the Black Panthers, and that had, great social causes. But they, pretty much turned into, something different. But he was aligned with that and found himself dead. And it was a big shock for me. And so I continued to stay with sports. When we moved from Chicago to Indiana, my thing was I always think about Mike and think about so many other youngsters that can be really inspired by that type of life, or and follow individuals that can really take you down a road that can lead you in prison or death. And he was no older than 14 years old.
Wow. Wow.
So, but I want to continue to work, and as I mentioned before, I'm probably going to do that until I can, breathe and more, find a way to mentor. I did it while we were in Florida, as you know that. And to be honest with you, women, a lot of women right now, young women, they're in need as more. I mean, they're more. You're surprised. They're out there engaging in crazy stuff, and so we need mentors like yourself, other women, to work with these young women. So not just the men, but also the women nowadays, because they can be just as tough and treacherous, if I can just say that word, than some of the young men. So it's a need.
Yes, I agree, and I applaud you for doing it. I know that we're in a new city, getting ready to get back into that space.
Yes.
But what message do you want young people growing up in challenging environments, such as what we just mentioned, to hear from you today? What's the final message? Let's just say we're not able to get to them one-on-one.
Sure. Never give up. Never give up, no matter where you are, some of the problems that you're going through. Know that you are worthy. Know that you matter, no matter what people say, no matter your color, your skin, your background, where you come from. I've worked with all, white, black, all different religions, from working in that detention center. Know that you are important, and if you're willing to go through and push through. There's a story I never forget, and I think I've shared this with you, where there was while we were placing kids. So while as a deputy chief, when I started a program for nightlife, but we also had other programs working with DFC where we had to place children in other areas of the country. Our kids were kind of tough, so bad that a lot of the places, whether it be Pennsylvania, and these were tough places.
Yeah, that was really good information, sir. So, what message do you want young people growing up in challenging environment to hear from you today?
My message would be to any individual, right, especially the youth that are out there: never give up, no matter where you are and what situation that you're in, the environment that you're in now, because that's just temporary. And knowing that you matter, knowing that people care for you, we care for you, and the struggle is real. But guess what? If you're able to persevere, you can do amazing things. There's a story when I was a deputy chief PO. We would place kids as well. Part of my job title was to also help kids that are in an environment, maybe to give them a second chance. We would put them in places, in organizations whereby they can flourish, right? And but there were so many places, because our kids coming from that gang environment in Gary, it was tough, and they couldn't handle the kids. So there was one kid that we were able to place in Arizona, and that was one of the reasons why I was able to move out there, because I was connecting with some of the programs that they had out there. They were able to take the kids, put them in sports program, and educate them. And there was one kid where I was really, really inspired, from California. They had a video of this kid that went to their facility. He was on his way to prison. There was a judge though that liked him and just felt that there was something more about him, right? Gave him a chance, because he was heavily involved in the gangs and stabbing individuals, and he was on his way. He said, "I'm gonna give you this last chance." So he was able to go to this school, right, where he became very, very, as far as one of the top intellectual students there, right? A's and B's. He played in 2 or 3 different sports, went to college from this program, right? Ended up going to medical school, came back in his community, right? And became one of the most prominent doctors in LA. So in the film, he says, look, I went from stabbing people to now saving people, with, those same, the same instrument, different purpose, different lifestyle. And that just, that floored me. So I never forgot about that, to see this young doctor doing the things that he was doing. And so no matter where you are, don't give up. People care about you. And that would be my message.
That is so wonderful. Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
All right. So Yeah. How can financial literacy and entrepreneurship empower underprivileged communities like us that are, which you pretty much said it already, but just to wrap this up, how can, those people that are out there creating jobs, they're making good money, how can they turn around and give back?
Yeah.
Or why should they?
I mean, not only in so many different ways, whether it be tax purposes, right? Learning that you can, make your money grow, things of that nature, having good credit. And I know you're great at that. I mean, you really are. And I know you've helped me out a lot because most people like myself that have made a lot of money, I have a lot of my friends, we spend it. We've done that in the past. But you have to grow to understand that, money can make money as well. And also, how you invest. Is so important. So there are so many different ways that are out there, even with our other businesses that we have right now, to be able to, do rental cars and things of that nature. It's great when you can have it, but there are so many different ways that you can get, that type of income, whether it be through also some of the other areas, right, through social media and with TikTok right now. And you see these guys, they're crushing it out there. So, but I would say, think outside of the box. Right? It's okay to have a job, but don't let that be your defining, one area where you seek to make income, because there's so many ways that you can make it in this day and time. And I'm so appreciative to be here.
Awesome. So I only have 2 more questions for you, Mr.
Okay,
Muhammad.
yes, go right ahead.
1, what principles guide your decision making right now in both life and business?
I guess my morals, from what I've looked, and I'm not perfect. I'm telling you, man, we all make mistakes and do things or what have you. But I think for me personally, when I get up, I want to say, first of all, how would God look at me? And then how would my mom look at me if I were to go out and do something that's not ethical, right? So I think I try to get up and do things that's best, not only for me, but for my family, for you, and for others, right? And so I always think about that, because character is so key, right? Your reputation is also something that, very, very important. And how would you be looked at, as far as leaving a legacy? You can have a lot of money and still be a butthead, right? Or still be somebody that, So I want to, and I think you can have it all. I think you can have good character or do things the right way and live a good life, right, and have that cash flow or what have you, if you're looking to seek that, or have nice places to stay, right, as far as homes, and have good friendships. So, but every day I try to pray and meditate and think about, wow, as they say that, what would Jesus do, or what would Jesus think, or what would your mom think? I think about, those that we admire and look up to, right? Before you do those things, man, you got to think about that. Sometimes, they say think 5 times before you speak or make an action. So I think about that. I got to get better at that. So,
yes.
But yes, that's what I work on, continuously. So, and still working on it.
Awesome. So my final question is, first of all, the name of this podcast is called Project Purpose Podcast.
I like it.
And we want to ask you, what's your favorite podcast?
This one. No. I tell you, my favorite podcaster, her name is Sheryll Muhammad. By none. I mean, number 1. You gotta, and not only that, your other YouTube channels and everything. No, you are. I can brag. So what? You better believe it. I may be a little biased, but this is wonderful. I appreciate the time you put in. I see what you do. Others don't. Just like others don't see the things that we do when we're pursuing other, ventures or what have you. It's a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of dedication, and I appreciate you doing that. Yes, I know. I got you.
All right. So that was amazing. I get a chance to know about you a little bit more.
Yes.
That whole taking the grocery all the way up to the 6th floor on the stairs.
Yeah.
What's so funny is when we do travel, one of our exercise excursion, if you want to call it, as opposed to just like hitting the gym, we usually do like to take the stairs, but that's for fun, not necessity. You're doing it out of necessity. You guys need to eat.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's why I'm used to it. So I can take the stairs, man, because we've done it. So many other interesting stories, like I said, but that's a whole another level of conversation, and but I appreciate those times because I learned a lot,
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about your background and your personal journey. We also talked about how you transitioned from your work, a traditional 9 to 5 into entrepreneurship. Of course, we shared on here your story, which again, I did not know about the young man that, that you grew up with, but just to see him being killed or to hear of him being killed, someone that you play with.
Yeah.
We
played on the same basketball team, all of that.
Yeah.
We were friends, we were friends.
Yeah. But, now to transition into, definitely out of that day-to-day grind, so to speak, but still being able to go and give back is just such an inspiring story. So we thank you for being here with us today on the podcast. We love having you, and we hope that this will not be the last time.
I hope so. I hope you invite me back. No.
That we'll actually see you. So that's the information that we have to share with you today, guys. You can find Willie Muhammad on Instagram at Willie Darnell Muhammad. That's his Instagram handle.
Yeah, sure is.
And of course, we'll be available in the near future to dive deeper into the day-to-day handling of his businesses and so on and so forth. But for now, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you will continue to be inspired by amazing stories like this. And until then, we'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.
All right, bye.
So here are 5 key takeaways to highlight. Number 1, the power of mindset. Success starts with believing in yourself and breaking free from limiting beliefs, regardless of your background. Number 2, overcoming adversity. Challenges can be a stepping stone to success when approached with resilience and determination. Number 3, service over self. Giving back to the community and mentoring others can create a lasting impact beyond financial success. Number 4, take action. Dreams and plans are great, but action is what drives success. Start where you are with what you have. And number 5, continuous learning. Personal development and surrounding yourself with the right people can accelerate your growth and success. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to today's episode. If you do find value in the information, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And we would love to know what is your greatest takeaway from this episode. So leave us a comment below, or DM us directly, or share this episode with a friend who needs to hear this information as well. Until the next episode, bye for now.